Dr. Fauci on lab theory, we've always said to keep an open mind and continue to look, so I think it's a bit of a distortion to say that we deliberately suppressed that. Let's watch this video. So I'm going to play this video, but know that he's just covering his butt.
People forget that, but if you go back then, even though you lean towards feeling that this is more likely a natural occurrence, we always felt that you've got to keep an open mind. All of us. We didn't get up and start announcing it, but we've always said keep an open mind and continue to look. So I think it's a bit of a distortion to say that we deliberately suppress that.
And this in, from Breaking 911, Major E. Taylor Greene introduces the Fire Fauci Act, and this is the presser on that. This legislation would lower Dr. Fauci's salary to $0. The video next.
Thank you for coming, everyone. This is an important issue that we need to talk. The American people have endured terrible things over the past year due to the shutdowns from COVID-19. And I'm very proud to sponsor the Fire Fauci Act, and I'm grateful to my colleagues here for co-sponsoring this bill because the American people deserve answers. The Fire Fauci Act will bring Dr. Fauci's salary down to $0 and also will require the Senate to confirm someone to fill his position.
Now remember, the lesson from Tucker tonight is the loudmouth in your group urging you to do illegal stuff is probably working for the FBI and seeking to entrap you.
Urgently, because as the Attorney General reminded us today, a lot depends on the answers. And at least one news organization is asking that, Revolver News. It's a news site. It's turned out to be one of the last honest outlets on the internet. A new piece on revolver.news suggests an answer to some of these questions. We know that the government is hiding the identity of many law enforcement officers who were present at the Capitol on January 6th, not just the one who killed Ashley Babbitt. According to the government's own court filings, those law enforcement officers participated in the riot, sometimes in violent ways. We know that because, without fail, the government has thrown the book at most people who were present in the Capitol on January 6th. There was a nationwide dragnet to find them, and many of them are still in solitary confinement tonight. But strangely, some of the key people who participated on January 6th have not been charged. Look at the documents. The government calls those people unindicted co-conspirators. What does that mean? Well, it means that in potentially every single case, they were FBI operatives. Really? In the Capitol on January 6th. For example, one of those unindicted co-conspirators is someone government documents identify only as Person 2. According to those documents, Person 2 stayed in the same hotel room as a man called Thomas Caldwell, an insurrectionist, a man alleged to be a member of the group the Oath Keepers. Person 2 also, quote, stormed the barricades at the Capitol on January 6th alongside Thomas Caldwell. The government's indictments further indicate that Caldwell, who, by the way, is a 65-year-old man, this dangerous insurrectionist, was led to believe there would be a, quote, quick reaction force also participating on January 6th. That quick reaction force, Caldwell was told, would be led by someone called Person 3, who had a hotel room and an accomplice with him. But wait, here's the interesting thing. Person 2 and Person 3 were organizers of the riot. The government knows who they are, but the government has not charged them. Why is that? You know why. They were almost certainly working for the FBI. So FBI operatives were organizing the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, according to government documents. And those two are not alone.
And on Forbes today, this is the report. Proud Boys leader was a prolific FBI informant. Here's his image. Here are the key facts. Repeatedly worked undercover with the feds. He turned informant after he was arrested, 212 for fraud. He pleaded guilty. He denied helping authorities investigate anyone to Reuters and said he did not recall the contents of the court transcript. And he cooperated with local and federal law enforcement to aid in the prosecution of those running other separate criminal enterprises, ranging from, you can see there, I don't want to say that, so he helped in numerous investigations. Officials are investigating the role groups like Proud Boys played in the Capitol riot, and at least 6 members have been charged in connection with it. Tarrio was not present for the Capitol riot as he had been arrested in D.C. 2 days before and subsequently banned from attending protests in the area. And this in from Disclosed TV, Twitter becomes the first American social media platform to lose its safe harbor protection in India over failure to comply with the IT laws of the land. With this, Twitter now stands exposed to further action under the IPC. This is from the Times of India. This is forwarded from We the Media. Yes, the Fed did infiltrate the groups involved in the January 6th Capitol riot. This report, Proud Boys leader was a prolific FBI informant. Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the far-right Proud Boys group, previously worked as an informer for local and federal law enforcement, according to court records obtained by Reuters that indicate he helped authorities prosecute 13 individuals on federal charges. And here's the Forbes article. And this is the Times of India article. Twitter loses legal shield in India for third-party content. This was posted today. Twitter has lost the coveted safe harbor immunity in India over its failure to appoint statutory officers on the company's role in line with the new IT rules, and its top executives, including the country's managing director, could now face police questioning and criminal liability under IPC over unlawful and inflammatory content posted on the platform by any user. With this, Twitter becomes the only American platform to have lost the protective shield granted under Section 79 of the IT Act, even though others such as Google, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram remain protected, official sources said. And they face criminal liability over content. These companies had to appoint statutory officers by May 25th, but many blamed the lockdown and tech challenges for their initial failure to comply with the rules on time, and on June 5th, the center issued one last notice to Twitter. The company had been given extra time to comply with the guidelines, but it has failed to fall in line with the new IT rules despite our repeated indulgence, including an extension. With this, Twitter has lost its safe harbor protection and now stands exposed to action under the IPC for any third-party unlawful content, a government source told it. And from Breaking 911, Arizona government signs executive order banning schools from requiring vaccines, masks, and COVID tests. Go Arizona! In Breaking 911's article, Arizona governor signs executive order banning schools from requiring vaccines, masks, and COVID tests. No more masks. Governor Doug Ducey today issued an executive order protecting access to Arizona's public universities and community colleges for all students. Under the executive order, students cannot be mandated to take the COVID-19 vaccine or submit vaccination documents. Students also cannot be mandated to be tested or wear masks in order to participate in learning. It provides exemptions for students participating in medical or clinical training. It does not prevent institutions of higher learning from encouraging vaccinations, providing testing, or having voluntary mask usage consistent with guidance from the Center of Disease Control. So he's saying this is a choice and we need to keep it that way. Public education is a public right and taxpayers are paying for it. We need to make our public universities available for students to return to learning. They have already missed out on too much learning. NASA releases Mission Equity, seeks public input to broaden access. It's a sad day to see this in the news. They are embracing critical race theory. And this is their publication on it. This is the Federalist take on the subject. NASA abandons actual space mission to focus on implementing critical race theory. They unveiled an initiative called Mission Equality on Monday that seeks to streamline its programs, procurements, grants, regulations, and policies to remove systematic inequitable barriers and challenges facing underserved communities. So it's seeking to address the following. While NASA references equality of opportunity in its release, that does not align with the racial equality title, which means equality of outcome. In order to build out the program, they desire feedback. In a video put out in the press release, NASA says it's on a mission of equity, and we hope you join us in this mission. NASA is only the latest federal agency to push leftist doctrine. Since May, the Central Intelligence Agency has been releasing videos that push gender theory and radical feminism. In March, the Department of Defense launched a partisan attack on Fox News host Tucker Carlson due to his disagreement over identity politics infiltrating the military. And the Pentagon hired a diversity inclusive chief who was eventually reassigned due to social media conflict of interest. This is critical race theory as it's being taught. It's basically racism. Up next, Biden being an idiot.
Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm not confident in changing behavior. What the hell? What do you do over there? So when did I say I was confident?
You said in the next 6 months you'll be able to determine.
What I said was, let's get it straight. I said what will change their behavior is if the rest of the world reacts to them and it diminishes their standing in the world. I'm not confident of anything. I'm just stating the fact.
But given his past behavior has not changed, and in that press conference after sitting down with you for several hours, he denied any involvement in cyber attacks, he downplayed human rights abuses, he even refused to say Alexei Navalny's name. So how does that account to a constructive meeting as President Putin?
You don't understand that. You're in your own business.
Is the summit with China next?
Who we need to load? Who we need to load quickly? Let's go. Quickly, cool.
Y'all get home safe.
People have got to wake up to this.
I owe my last question an apology. I shouldn't have been such a wise guy with the last answer I gave. Anyway, thanks for being here.
Before getting on a plane, as you know, all of the really images and the narrative from this summit is set. He wanted to take that off the table. But we have seen President Biden do that frequently. What we've not seen him do is answer questions like that without his aides screaming at him to stop. I have never seen a president, covering the last 4 of them, who is so protected by his aides in terms of often not wanting him to answer some questions.
Evidence presented at a hearing today showed Stacey Adams ran Fulton County elections. Image is funny. Evidence presented at this morning's public meeting of the Fulton County Commission shows that Former Democrat gubernatorial candidate State Rep. Stacey Abrams controlled and financed the main contractor used in Fulton County elections during the November 3rd poll and the January 5th U.S. Senate runoff. Evidence showed direct financial underwriting of the staffing service Happy Faces personnel group by groups controlled by Abrams. In other words, a highly partitioned Democratic political operative controlled the elections in Fulton County, which also involves a Nigerian national. Okay. And here's Sydney.
Just deplatformed my law firm blast emails from sydneypowell.com because apparently we were talking about defending the Republic. And they just can't stand the truth, Steve. That's all it is. They want to suppress free speech. They can't stand the truth. They are absolutely terrified of it. And all the behaviors you were talking about earlier, about all the labeling they do of us and the mocking, those are fear-based behaviors. Absolutely fear-based. They don't know what else to do. They have no substance, so they lash out with labels and try to dismiss us as, quote, conspiracy theorists or racist or mock us, and that's because they have absolutely nothing. I used to be a federal prosecutor. I was for 10 years in 3 different districts under 9 U.S. attorneys from both political parties, and I never in my entire career saw prosecutors behave the way they started behaving, at least with the Enron task force appointments, which were made by President Bush back in 2001. And there I was in private practice then, and I saw prosecutors make up crimes, absolutely make them up by piecing parts of 2 different statutes together and hide evidence that showed people were innocent. I wound up representing Arthur Anderson, which was destroyed with 85,000 jobs along with it by this corrupt group of prosecutors, only to be reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court. And then I represented one of the Merrill Lynch executives in litigation that lasted a total of 10 years. It took me 6 years to uncover the evidence the prosecutors had hidden that showed these men were innocent. 4 men went to prison for up to a year on an indictment that didn't even state a criminal offense. They couldn't get bail pending appeal because this corrupt group of prosecutors headed by Andrew Weissman and Leslie Caldwell and Lisa Monaco, who's now Deputy Attorney General, and of course Weissman became Deputy Director of the FBI under Mueller and General Counsel, and then became head of Mueller's squad, his hit squad that went after General Flynn. So I wrote a book.
But hold it. I want to go. Hang on. I got to go back to Weissman. He's a psychopath. I got to go. And he's on MSNBC all the time, pontificating. Right? He's a psychopath. Okay. Talk about Arthur Anderson. They destroyed one of the great accounting firms in this country and put tens of thousands of people out of work because he was maniacally focused on this.
85,000 people worldwide.
85,000. And later you found out later we found out it was uncalled for. Correct.
Correct. They took parts of 2 different statutes to make a crime that didn't exist. Congress had never enacted that statute. In fact, they did later to plug what they saw as a loophole in Arthur Anderson. But of course, then they did not apply that to Hillary Clinton, to whom it would have applied. But yes, they destroyed Anderson. They knew they were going to destroy it when they indicted the company. They sealed the indictment for a week while they worked behind the scenes to avoid upheaval in the markets because Anderson represented 2,500 publicly traded companies. And as soon as the indictment was unsealed, of course, Anderson was history. They didn't even have to wait for the trial. But since they tried him in Houston in the wake of the Enron collapse, which affected people all across the country, and yes, it was a bad thing, but was it Anderson's crime? No, it wasn't. There was no crime there with respect to Anderson, certainly not what the government had charged. And so the company was destroyed for nothing. It took 2 years for a unanimous Supreme Court to reverse the Anderson conviction in its entirety.
And you can see the full video in the link in the listings. Go with kindness and love.